everyone. This is Julie Cantillon, Associate Director of Schools, and Mary Cordero, Instructional Coach, and we're here to walk you through our professional learning for this academic year. So this year is going to look a lot different. So both of our major professional learning days will be conducted virtually, and the overall focus is going to be instruction in a HyFlex environment. We've also changed the format a bit. We're going to have a keynote speaker in the morning, and then you're going to choose one track to participate in for the entire year. There will also be mini sessions and time to practice what you learned in between the two PL days, which are October 23rd and March 12th. So we get it. At this time of year, especially this year, you're feeling overwhelmed. So there was a recent study from Harvard Business School called Preventing Busyness from Becoming Burnout. And in this article, they talked about how the feeling is like being in a tunnel. So we're only able to concentrate on the most immediate and often low-value tasks right in front of us. And this year, we're trying to build communal expertise as we have teachers in our system who are at different phases of figuring this all out. We don't want you to see professional learning as one more thing, but rather as a support to help us get out of this tunnel. So here's a quick slide on the overview for this year's structure. Morning keynote, then we'll have a break, followed by the track which you choose to participate in. And then for each of the tracks too, we're going to have a reflect and share template that's going to be used to track your thinking and also record what you're going to share back at your site. And we're going to also have base camps for each of the tracks. And this is going to be an opportunity to collaborate and share with colleagues.
I know everyone's excited right now about that base camp, right? But remember, you can turn off the notifications in the base camp. It's just a good place to store all of the information, and you know where to go back to get those resources.
Awesome. And what I love about this year, too, is that we're going to have 2 to 3, depending on the track, after-school mini sessions with the facilitator for additional collaboration, feedback, and professional learning. So you'll notice all the dates on each of the slides. So hopefully you recognize our keynote address speaker. This is Dr. Nancy Fry, and she's going to be addressing teacher clarity in a HyFlex environment. We're really excited about Dr. Nancy Fry because she really has her finger on the pulse. She and Dr. Doug Fisher have been doing a lot of work around distance learning. They recently wrote the Distance Learning Playbook. So this is going to be an intro to that work, which, again, I'm really excited about.
And they're globally presenting on this topic. So they are current and relevant and excited to have her.
Next, we have our math site leader and math teacher track. So previously, this was reserved for math site leaders, but now that we've transitioned our content area focus, this track will be open to all teachers of math. So it's going to be aligned to a UDL focus for how to really adapt instruction to make sure that you are creating entry points for all students.
Like Julie said, this is for all math teachers as well as math site leaders. So if you feel like maybe you teach 3rd grade or 2nd grade, 1st grade, and you need a little more help with your math instruction, these two are amazing practitioners, and I know the work they did with the math site leaders was very helpful.
This track will be just for the science site leaders. So they've already been meeting. They started this summer. And again, the science is our content area of focus for this year and next. So there'll be more sessions than we typically have. But again, this is because it's our content area of focus. So if you're a science site leader, make sure you register for this track. Next up, we have Dr. Lori Elliott. You may recognize her. She does some work with CAPS PD. She's an expert on project-based learning, but also project-based learning in a distance environment as well as in a HyFlex environment. So she'll be here to work with our TK through 2 teachers, which will be awesome. Our TK through 2 teachers have had unique challenges that maybe teachers in other grade levels haven't experienced because these are our youngest learners, of course. So how are we managing the learning of our students in these grades who are working both in class and at home simultaneously? Dr. Elliott will provide us with templates, with strategies, and with tools that you can use right away. For grades 3 through 8, going off of what Dr. Lori Elliott's doing with the younger grades, Sam Fritz will be leading Blended and HyFlex Learning in Action with teachers of grades 3 through 8. What's awesome about Sam is that he's a current practitioner. So he oversees HyFlex and distance learning at his current site.
And when we spoke with him, I was really excited about hearing how he wants to introduce parallel planning for the HyFlex environment, how to give students processing time and how to collaborate, helping you with breakout rooms and Google Slides, as well as easily capturing what you've taught in the classroom asynchronously.
And these 2 HyFlex sessions would probably be most appropriate for beginner and intermediate teachers in terms of comfort with HyFlex learning. Next track is the assessment and feedback in a virtual or HyFlex learning environment. So we have 2 facilitators, one for grades TK through 2 and the other for grades 3 through 8. And this is led by some familiar faces, Alia Williams-Ashley and Dennis Dossemir from Catapult Learning. So one of the biggest needs that came through in our teacher surveys in May was how do we provide students with authentic feedback and how do we administer authentic assessments in this type of environment, especially knowing that we have a limited amount of time, even more so than typical. So Alia and Dennis will be great facilitators with us on this path. They've already been working with our teacher liaison team, so they're really well versed in the needs of our SD Catholic educators.
So just make sure you pick the right session. Alia is TK2 and Dennis will be working with grades 3 through 8 teachers.
We're thrilled to have Dr. Katie Novak joining us this year. She is a leading expert on universal design for learning, and you've probably heard her if you listen to podcasts or you follow blogs. She was also the co-author with George Couros on Innovate Outside the Box.
And we all love George Couros, but very excited to have Katie Novak. She is the director of professional learning at her school district in Massachusetts, and she is talking about firm goals but with flexible means and how UDL is woven throughout everything we do. It's not something extra, it is the framework.
And finally, for administrators and teacher leaders, Dr. Nancy Fry will be leading a track. Again, this will be after the keynote, specifically geared toward leadership. So getting into the how and the why of teacher clarity and why it is essential, even in a HyFlex environment, and especially in a HyFlex environment.
So I'm excited to have her and talk about that deep dive into the Teacher Clarity Playbook. I know we skimmed over that last year, but really in this HyFlex environment, having to ask ourselves the question about what are we teaching or are we just assigning? What is the learning? And so with this Teacher Clarity piece, we'll be able to lead our schools and have a clear focus on learning outcomes.
Awesome. Okay, so that's it. Next steps, talk with your administrators. Determine which track would be best for you to join this year. Some tips are to try to align it to your professional goals that you selected. When you met with your principal at the beginning of the year and you chose your goals, what are they and how can this professional learning support you? Also, make sure you read the descriptions carefully because some tracks may not be best suited for your grade level or experience. And don't forget to register really quickly because sessions are capped and size is limited based on our contracts with each provider. And don't forget also to record the dates for the mini sessions once you've registered. Thank you, and we really look forward to engaging in some meaningful professional learning with you all this year.